Okay, so now you should have your entire shoe covered. It should have at least four or five different layers over here that are all named. And you should be able to turn off the bottom layer, the original layer, so that you can't even tell that there was a shoe there. So you can go ahead and turn it off now. Now, one of the reasons why you use layers is because you can do something different to every layer and put a different effect, a different technique, a different look on whichever layer. So to do that, what you need to do is you make sure you're on the select button up here on the top, and then you go to whichever one you want to start with, and you can double click on it, and you get this box here, and there are all of these different blending styles that you can do. So I'm just going to go through a couple of them so that you can see how they work. But basically, if you do bevel and emboss, okay, and if I double click on it, I now get all of this information for bevel and emboss. Now remember, we're doing the sole down here. So when I turned it on, do you see how the line becomes more defined? Well, now you could take and you can change the size of it, and you can make it look more 3D, more colorful, and it works different on every different one and the different colors, etc. You can play with all of these things. You can change the style, like that one is inner. What if I wanted an outer? Not my favorite. Pillow. So you can play around with all of these things. The other thing you can do is another popular one is the stroke. If I click here and do stroke, now do you see how it goes around all of them? And if I double click on it, I can change the stroke size, and I can put it on the outside versus the inside. And I can change the color if I wanted to. And the cool thing is let's just assume that I wanted to change the color to this purple. All you have to do is open up the color palette, and then if you go over here, do you see how my cursor turns into a eyedropper? And whichever color you choose, it changes the color, and you can hit OK. So now your color here is that. So now there's my color, so I can tie in the rest of my shoe, whatever. So that's stroke. You can do an inner shadow, probably wouldn't work for this, but you can play with all of these. Color overlay, you can change the colors if you wanted to change them. You can do a gradient overlay. A gradient means it goes from one color to another. So you could take and really make them bright if that's what you wanted to do. Pattern is the same thing. You click on pattern overlay, and then there are some that are already in here, so you can make it look like different things. Outer glow, might have trouble seeing it on this, but let's see if we can try. Usually you have to have a background, but basically it puts a glow around the outside. So what you do is just take this, and it's kind of hard to see. It's there, but you could play around with that, and then you can also have a drop shadow, and you can say how big it is, how small it is, and go from there. So what I want you to do is I want you to go to every one of these layers, and I want you to try different effects to try to get whatever it is that you want out of this. So if I went back and I turned on the stroke and the bevel, Now, the one thing I want to tell you is that once you hit OK, you can now see that on this layer, there are these effects. I can take the eye and just turn off one effect at a time, or I can turn off all the effects if I really wanted to. This tutorial is, you have to do every one of the tutorials. It does not have to be part of your final project, but you have to do it. So if you really don't want to put any blending effects on here, you can just turn it off, but I need to be able to see that you did this. The other thing I was going to mention is that, can you see how this is now kind of on the, you can't see it all because it's underneath? Well, the reason why is because this is underneath the other layers. So this is from top to bottom, what you're going to be able to see from top to bottom. So if I take and move this up here, you can see the whole thing. So you might want to think about it in that respect too. So, and to do that, all you do is click and drag one way or the other, and you can change the layer styles, etc. So go ahead and go and do all of your blending options, and we'll go from there.